Hello everyone. So today I'm going to teach you how to find out whether AI actually recommends your product or brand and what to do about it when it doesn't. Gone are the days when people would click on each of the links. They would go on Google, type something, click all the 10 links, go to page number 2 or 3, and then find relevant answers. With today, the way it's working is all of that endless scrolling through like clunky advertising listings. That's gone. Now people are asking ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and all of these LLMs one basic simple question like, does this answer this? They would ask, what's the best tool for this? And those AI answers with a short list of names. And if you're not on that list, you don't get a second look. Like there's no page 2 or 3 for it. You're either named on that list or you're invisible. And honestly, most people have no idea whether they're named or not. And that is why there is all this news and hype around the concept of answer engine and generative engine optimization. Because let's just admit it, the traditional search engine optimization is not enough anymore. Every single brand needs to have a generative engine optimization strategy which is optimized for LLMs, so it can directly cite your product, your name through the semantic context, and for you to win AI citations. So in this tutorial we are going to cover 5 things. Number one, getting your customers' real data and knowing what they ask you in their own words. The second is Windsor.ai, which we will use to pull in all the relevant and useful data from all our different channels. Then we will turn that raw data into intelligence, and we will try to understand what people want and what's growing fast, where the demand actually is, what people are actually looking for and asking. Yeah. Then we will let Claude write exact questions your buyers are asking, and I'll show you just how. And then giving you a plan on 5 things that you can do this week based on your customers' data, based on your real business intelligence, what you can do to win AI citations. So let's get started. All right. So this is Windsor. Think of it as a universal adapter because all of your business data is scattered somewhere in Google Analytics, some in your support inbox, some in sales calls, recording. Windsor, what Windsor does is it plugs into all of them and gives you one final place to read from. So for the sake of this demo, I'm using Windsor and I'm pulling in data from a couple different tools. I wanted to fetch my Google Analytics data so I could see site searches, what they're typing exactly, what query they are adding into. It gives you like what people actually want in their own specific words. Then I'm also looking for support tickets I can use Zendesk, I can use other like Trello and other tools that are available on Windsor. So those tickets would help me analyze like what confused people enough to make them write in. And then I could also go and look for Zoom transcripts or even any of the sales call. So it would give me, intel about what confused people, what prospects are saying out loud. And connecting one is like just a 2 minutes job. So for example, if you're connecting your Google Analytics account, all the steps are mentioned clearly. We would go about it, we would we would, sign in, connect the credentials, and that's all about it. Same goes for the other ones. So let's say for the Zoom one, you have to create a Zoom on the Zoom developer portal. You have to connect your client ID, your secret ID, and all of those steps. So I can create a separate video on exact steps, but just for the sake of this demo, I'm using dummy data here because I do not want any customers data, any customers account to be published. So to answer your question, how I'm doing this is that I built a tool to answer all of your questions, and I'm going to show you the whole thing. So it's an open source GitHub project right now that I created. It's running on my laptop locally. So the entire thing is created as open source project, which is right now available on my GitHub. I can share the link as well. It's created with Claude Code and you can run it locally, and it is using Windsor, Claude Code for the entire thing that you just need to drop in your API keys, and let's first see the tool in working. So here, as I mentioned, that I am fetching data from a couple different areas using my Zoom transcripts, using my reviews, my support tickets and all. And since this is developed in Claude Code, I have used Windsor as a connector in my Claude account. So using Windsor's MCP, it is now fetching data all at real time. And let's see what it's giving us. It is giving me site search terms. So this is the first screen. You can change it as per your needs, but this is just what I'm doing with this. What it helps me is that right now it asks me to choose different sources, from wherever I want to pull real data in. So since I needed my support tickets, my sales call snippets, my site search results from like Google Analytics and all. And once I've done that, I would just simply connect to fetch through Windsor, and let's see what it gave me. So I have my search from the Google Analytics data. It is giving me the searches, the changes, and like what the results were last week compared to this week. Then some intel from the support tickets. Like for this entire example, I'm just seeing how Windsor is appearing and how Windsor is showing on Claude and ChatGPT and how we can improve that. So for the support tickets, and again, this is dummy data just for the purposes of this demo. So let's say the support tickets came from a couple questions that we are just seeing relevant to the product itself, how many tickets were, how many changes we made. And then let's see, we have some snippets from the sales call or the Zoom transcripts. It could be within your team, it could be with your clients or anything, but any specifics that the actual user is talking about, not an AI recommending you, the user will ask this. No, that's actual real data that you can pull in using these tools. Now let's see how we can turn all of these snippets or queries into actual buyer questions. And now you must ask, like, why do we even need this to be turned into buyer questions? And the answer is, and here is what it gets clever. As I mentioned earlier, people are not using Google to, search questions. Like for example, nobody types supermetrics alternatives on Claude. People here are now, so it is now reading the data. So nobody is typing like supermetrics alternatives into Claude. That's how we used to search on Google. The new way how we're using AI is when you talk to an AI like you're asking a real question. It would be, what are the best alternatives to supermetrics for marketing data? Like these are the questions that we see like people are usually asking these LLMs. So that is why just using those basic questions like basic snippets and then transforming them into an actual buyer question, that is what this step was. And again, Claude is doing all of this. So we take everything from step 2 and hand it to Claude and ask it to translate, and based on all of that, this is what it gives me. So what are the best alternatives to supermetrics for marketing data? And it's also giving me like where is it pulling it. So the citation that it gave me is that it is a site search from Google Analytics data, and it is giving me like this was the query itself, and a proper question on this is like this, and something related to from the calls is the sales calls or the Zoom snippet that it fetched from. So this is exactly what we needed. So a couple more examples on this proper questions. So Claude helped us transform those into proper questions. And let's move on to the next step. Now at this part where we have all the structured questions properly mentioned here, what I want to do next is that now I want to test it one by one onto Claude, onto like ChatGPT, and also I would take this. The old manual process would be if I could take this question, I could use it on Claude. I can ask the question and see how the response is. Does it cite Windsor or not? Does it mention other competitors for other questions? Then I would do the same thing on ChatGPT and all the other ones. And this would be such a long, messy, and repeatable process which I wanted to automate. So at the end of this, what I've added is this option. So what we can do is we can select any of the engines that we want to run this on through an API call. For example, I can select Google Gemini. It is giving me the cost per query. It is giving me other models as well. You just need to connect your API keys to run this. And if you can also like add more LLMs, Perplexity, or other tools like these search engines. So then what we can do is, let's say if I selected Gemini, I want to run these and see how Gemini is performing for Windsor specifically. Then let's say I can mention the number of questions, and I can then just run the radar and see how it works. So it will then start its search. And then finally, like this month's plan, this is the payoff. It actually gives like a to-do list. That's how I wanted to design the automation itself. So each one you can start today. It is giving me like competitors, how many times Windsor appeared in those LLMs, and based on that, like the share of voice, how many engines asked, and based on that, it is giving me a step-by-step guide to work on next. So it says publish a dedicated best cross-channel marketing dashboard tools, comparison page. So it's actually giving me like action plan on what exactly to do. Publish specific comparison page on that specific question. Add some live links to that. How to win that specific question. So anytime that specific query is asked it again, your brand name appears on top of that. This is not 100% reliable, and I'm sure that there's a lot that can be improved on this specific tool, but this is a good start on winning more AI citations. So that's the end. I hope you have learned something valuable. Like your customers tell you what they want, that becomes the questions they would ask an AI, and we then ask the AIs for real and see whether you are named or not, and then it gives you like 5 different things what you can do about it, and then you do the work. And then next week you run it again, you see the stats, you see where it's appearing, where it's not. So again, like these LLM crawlers are not updated on a week to week basis, but it would be a good strategy for your SEO team to work on, to at least get started on getting more citations through these LLMs. And that's all. Let me know if you have tried this. It's an open source, so I'm open to your contributions. And let's see what magic we can create with it. So thank you.